What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zera, and I've got another wonderful video for you guys today. Today's going to be a little bit different format. I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you guys think. Also, be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy it later on. If you don't, hit that thumbs down button. Regardless, I want you to be in the comments. I want you to ask your questions. I want to be able to communicate with you guys. We've got a lot of people hitting up the comment section in the last several videos. We've got a really great open dialogue. Really great communities building here. And also, if you guys are interested and you're enjoying the content, I would love for you guys to come check out the stream on Twitch at Salty Zera. We've got a wonderful community there as well. Everybody's just in the chat, absorbing, having lots of fun, and I just want to be able to get to know you guys a little bit better one-on-one. I feel like the Twitch chat is a great place to do that. All the links for all that information is listed in the description down below. But with that, guys, let's get into the video. Okay, guys, this is a video that many of you have requested, and one I will start right away is stating that most of what's said here will likely be repeated in other future videos. And again, this video is a different format than I'm usually doing. I'm obviously recording this as a voiceover with a previous video that I've done, but I wanted to try this because this is an actual legit scripted video. So let me guys know in the comment section what you guys think. But with that, today's topic of discussion is going to be what pet you want to have at your disposal when raiding either Molten Core or Onyxia. Now, I know a vast majority of people are already wondering, but Zera, we know the wolf is best for raids. How come you need to tell us? Or maybe it's, I prefer my Wind Serpent over a wolf. It's much easier to manage. Now, all these are good points, but let's examine each a bit further in detail, and we'll see exactly where we can both improve our individual class fantasy and provide additional combat enhancements to those around us, especially when it comes to our fellow DPS classes. First off, let's begin with our stables. As currently in Classic, there's only 3 pets we're allowed to have access to at any one time. Now, I'm not 100% sure whether or not this is the intention throughout the entirety of Classic, or maybe they'll allow us an additional slot or 2 in future phases. My memory of vanilla is already fuzzy as is, but I'm betting on the former. But regardless, it's the foundation of today's topic and we need to address it. Since we only have access to 3 pets in total, as hunters, we must make a conscious decision about what pets we wish to have in our arsenal and for what purpose they are going to serve. Now, I can and probably will be delivering a new video about the overall functionality of each pet and what roles they're best suited for. However, for now, it's simply important to stress the position we're in as hunters, having a small list of active pets to pull from. Now, with limited space, it's important to consider all of our options. Most people have accepted that each hunter will bring a wolf to the raids, primarily for their ability known as Furious Howl. Now, Furious Howl is an amazing tool, one I personally love stacking on top of my multi-shots in combat. Seeing that 15% damage buff to multi-shot from the Barrage talent, stacked on top of yet another 15% damage bonus from Giant Stalker's 8-piece set bonus, now you add Furious Howl as the cherry on the parfait, and delicious damage. I'll be doing a video on how to manage this little maneuver to perfection at a later date. But for now, Furious Howl is an incredible buff. However, I'm kind of worried that it's being oversimplified. I see a lot of hunter-centric discords, Reddits, and forum posts, in-game general chat, and other places simply just telling people to just go tame a wolf, send it to attack the bosses, and put FH on autocast. Now, while there's some instances where you can get by with this strategy, mostly within 5-man dungeons and maybe even certain scenarios against Onyxia, most of the encounters we face at this point require some critical thinking before we just simply abandon all hope for our pet and send them off to their untimely demise. First, we must consider the group composition that we're in. Now, if your guild's anything like mine, you're going to find that there's a method to everything that we do, or everything that your guild does. We divide our groups in a way that benefits each class the best. For example, I'm always grouped with our main tank. This is done so that Furious Howl will allow him to generate additional threat. Other hunters on our raid are grouped with mostly rogues and fury warriors and occasionally an off tank. Again, this is by design. Our hunters can utilize their FH, or Furious Howl, buffs freely, offering additional burst of damage to those other physical damage dealers they're grouped with. Just remember, though, chances are high that if Furious Howl is being used to increase the melee DPS, it is far less likely that you will gain any sort of advantage with it, due to its limited range. It only has a 15-yard radius. This is the first weak link in a certain chain of thinking that some hunters have. Now, majority of hunters enjoy the simplicity of having their wolf on passive next to them and only using the buff to solely increase their damage. And while it certainly makes it easier to manage, the fewer people to gain FH's buff with the extra damage it provides leaves too much DPS off the table. For example, if a hunter takes the buff only for themselves and leaves his 3 Fury Warrior buddies without the buff, then you will have effectively lost DPS by limiting FH buff just to you. I know it can feel like you're missing out on damage when you don't see the buff on yourself, but the truth is quite the opposite. Let's take a side detour real quick and discuss other pet options we have for raids. Now, for raw damage output, it's not a surprise that a cat would make a decent option for sure. The only problem is that a lot of the encounters require pets to not be in melee range simply due to mechanics that would kill them, such as the AoE fire damage from Baron Geddon, and so on and so forth. And let's also not forget the exploding adds against Gar. These are things we have to consider. And this leaves us without a pet in a significant downgrade to our overall damage if we're depending solely on the pet's physical damage output. You add this to the low health values of a cat, and it quickly becomes a super inefficient pet to choose for raiding. Truth of the matter is, aside from a wolf, there really is only one other viable option to us to choose as a raiding companion, and that would be the Wind Serpent. Now, the Wind Serpent is a very intriguing option, and it would require you to spec a certain way in order to maximize its potential in overtaking a wolf in the long run. Case in point, a hunter who is rolling with a wolf is most likely not going to dedicate any points to Unleash Fury, which is going to buff the pet's overall physical damage. The reason for this is that the wolf's almost never going to be in melee combat, meaning you're simply wasting talent points, whereas in the case of a Wind Serpent, you most definitely would apply the full 5 points into buffing your pet's overall damage. The 20% damage buff would create a formidable increase to your overall damage. However, sadly, it's not all about us hunters in this particular equation. The conversation really would come down to your group composition and your raid's overall sense of direction and leadership. If your raid leaders are hell-bent on maximizing as much damage as possible for the raid, then it's likely you'll be asked to roll the wolf. Now, I'm not here trying to validate an open argument for your guildmates or your raid leadership. I'm merely giving you the pros and cons to our 2 best options for raiding. What you do with this information is entirely up to you. The truth is that at the end of the day, what pet you choose to raid alongside is entirely up to you. As long as you're aware of both sides of the coin, you really could just flip a coin and not ever really go wrong. In the case of a wolf, yes, you're implementing a very nice buff for your fellow DPS or tanks, but you miss out on the buff yourself. Also, it's worth noting that the wolf itself never does any melee damage. This is done in order to prolong its life as long as possible in a lengthy raid encounter. Now, in case of a Wind Serpent, its ability to continuously bombard raid bosses with long-range spells that ignore armor and can be buffed further by increasing your pet's damage via talents leaves an incredible option in its own right. If you want to know my personal opinion, I would tell you that the Blood Axe Ward from Lower Blackrock Spire is what I chose to run with in raids, and I currently still do. I enjoy finding a lot of different positions that my wolf can stand in and avoid certain mechanics, while also aiding my main tank in keeping his threat bis, as he calls it, up and running. Although, I'll add this little tidbit. Once Zul'Gurub is released and I have full access to the level 60 Wind Serpents with the level 60 version of Lightning Breath, I'm going to most likely, at that time, will be switching officially over to the Wind Serpent full time. Not only because it would maximize my own personal damage, since hunters start slowing down on the damage meters pretty early on into the end game. We don't scale very well. But mainly because most classes will not need the extra damage from Furious Howl, simply due to the availability of gear from both Zul'Gurub, Blackwing Lair, and of course, from Phase 1, Onyxia, and Molten Core. So, at that point in Classic's lifespan, people will be doing so much additional damage that Furious Howl will become less of a factor. But it can still be useful with certain group compositions. Again, this all comes down to your raid leadership's decision making. But again, I'm a simple old soldier in my army of guildies. While this is my position and thought process now, I may change my mind later on down the road. And you may as well. We'll just simply have to wait and see. And with that, guys, please, again, remember to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Also, be sure to multi-shot that subscribe button and the notification bell for when you can get updates when new content comes out. And I just want to let you guys know that, again, I stream on Twitch at SaltyZera. Links, again, are in the description below. Be sure to come check it out because it's a lot of hunting fun going on over there. And with that, guys, I just want to say I love you as always. Continue to stay kind to one another, and I'll see you in the next video. Zera out.